So you need to be careful before making these legislative proposals. Mr. Kenneth Lau. Mr. President, I speak in support of Ms. Carmen KAN's original motion. Under this global trend of innovation and technological developments, it is inevitable that we develop a digital economy. Information network is the vessel. It is the foundation on which we build a new mode of economy, and this is how the global order is global landscape is changed and how we enhance competitiveness. The mainland attaches great importance to the development of a digital economy. In the 14th Five-Year Plan, there is a clear provision on expediting the development of the digital economy. And after years of development, the mainland is now the powerhouse. Hong Kong should follow the footsteps of the mainland and the rest of the world and proactively align our system with the new digital order. There should also be regulations on the development of a digital economy. Globalization is one impetus, and the State Council published a white paper in 2022. For the 47 economies in the world, the total sum stands at $37.1 trillion, and for the mainland, 7.14 trillion US dollars. In other words, our country is performing so well, it shows the clout and influence in the digital world. It also shows that the digital economy is the major economic driver. We need to combine digital economy and the physical economy to create a new impetus and to break barriers so as to put our economy on a path of recovery. The government has proactively promoted the development of a new generation of technologies such as big data, AI, cloud computing, and blockchain. When it comes to enacting a framework for the development, we're lagging behind. For example, the 5G network has limited coverage in rural and remote areas. There is no 5G network, so the shortfall. On top of that, we need to improve critical information infrastructure to narrow the digital gap so as to grasp the opportunities brought about by the digital economy and create new room for economic development in Hong Kong. In June, the government established a Digital Economy Development Committee, which will map out a blueprint and chart the way forward for the development of the digital economy. I hope that the government will plan for the hardware and software and expedite the provision of e-government services. Data should be opened up as quickly as possible for sharing among government departments to improve people's livelihood. Apart from developing a digital economy, there will be ample opportunities brought about by the opening up of data. At the same time, we face challenges. The Hong Kong SAR government will need to play the role as a regulator to enhance governance and improve the regulation on information and data and to set a framework, legislative framework. The State Council this year published an opinion on regulating this matter. The idea is to enhance governance through regulating information infrastructure, and the government should implement and be integrated into the country's development. We should do the bidding of presidency and continue to develop the digital economy.
Mr. Ma Kwok. President, I speak in support of the motion moved by Ms. Carmen KAN on legislating on digital economy and e-government services. There is a global trend of innovative technology development. Digitalization of economy and e-government services is the trend. After the past 2 years of epidemic, we can truly feel the convenience brought about by digital economy and also e-government services. It is already very popular among members of the public right now. Last week, the policy address also supports the government enhancing the development of digital economy and expanding the e-government services. This will be beneficial for the development of digital economy. So besides the convenience and opportunity brought about by digital economy, there are also the questions of regulation. The speed and scope of development of the digital economy is unprecedented. The government must speed up legislation to offer a sound framework to offer protection. In June, the Digital Economy Development Committee was established. It will develop a blueprint for speeding up the development of digital economy. A number of measures and strategies have been developed, including helping industries to transition into digital economy and also establish e-government services. However, there is no timetable on legislation and regulation. We do have the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Protection of Personal Data. However, since the amendments in year 2004, there is no change to the legislation. After the epidemic, e-transaction has become more popular. However, our legislation on this regard is still outdated. On the contrary, in the nation, there is a comprehensive set of legislative framework. In Guangzhou, in June, Guangzhou became the first city to establish its own legislation on regulating digital economy. There are challenges and risks brought about by digital economy. Digital economy's development would enhance the digital gap because of decentralization. So the government laid down guidelines on the digitalization of different industries, and also there are regulations on digital and online activities in terms of innovation, development, and also data security, as well as anti-competition laws. There are adequate guidelines offered by the government on the mainland. On our front, we have to catch up in terms of legislation to ensure that digital economy's development can be sustainable with adequate guidance. Now, the development of a smart government is also mentioned under the PA. In 2 years' time, there will be a full digitalization of government services. To achieve that objective, legislation is required to offer a legislative framework for the governments to make use of digital data in its daily work and enhance sharing of data. According to the Internet Society in Hong Kong, which was published last year, besides the protection of data, where we have a comprehensive legislation, there is no insufficient legislation in other areas. Now, the State Council has announced the opinion on guiding the development of digital economy. The strategies include in-depth integration and adoption of digital technology. In Singapore and in the nation have legislated on the regulation on e-services and digital economy. We have to catch up. We have to lay a sound legal framework for the development of digital economy in the Hong Kong, and for us to play a leading role for the development of digital economy in the GBA. If we want to have better development in terms of big data and also smart governments, we have to catch up with time in terms of digitizing our services. Legislation is required. I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Junis Ho. President, e-certificate services and digital economy is the global trend which will certainly last. I support the original motion moved by Ms. Carmen KAN to legislate on digital economy and e-government services. Many members of the public in Hong Kong are superstitious about privacy. Even if the application scenario is reasonable and safe, they would still be reluctant to share their personal data. It gave rise to lots of confrontation or even litigation. The government should start a study as soon as possible to identify the necessary legislation to provide the necessary framework on the development of digital economy and e-government services, and to remove the potential obstacles. Legislation is required to remove the barriers. We also have to think about the data that the transnational internet service providers are sitting on. They are in charge of massive amounts of personal data, but we have no access to them. For criminal investigation purpose, the police departments would require the provision of these data by these transnational companies. But the requests were often rejected. We have to legislate to hold these transnational internet service providers accountable. We have to ensure that they would cooperate and take their responsibility in protecting law and order. I applaud the government's decision to empower the Secretary for Health to make invalid suspicious vaccination exemption certificates. Even when the Court of Appeal ruled against the government took bold action to empower the Secretary for Health to make necessary decisions. This is a prime example where on how we can identify the potential loopholes and plug them immediately. I am in awe of the government's action. However, I am also disappointed that the government gave up on lodging an appeal. So at this point of time, you should be confident in upholding what is right. This is in relation to public interest, and this is the government's responsibility to persevere in the litigation process. Thank you. Reverend Pt2. Thank you, President. Globally, there is high-speed developments in digital economy. Many countries have sped up innovation efforts. This is the global trend. As a result, the government has announced the establishment of the Digital Economy Development Committee in June to speed up its development. After the epidemic, various industries have picked up speed in terms of transitioning into to embrace the digital economy. So I propose that the committee sets up KPIs and clear timetable and engage regular reviews on how it can enhance collaboration between the governments and the industries to help Hong Kong move faster towards the goal of a smart city. Back in year 2021, I have already suggested the government has announced the digitalization of government services. Targets have been set in year 2017 and year 2020, and the government has published the Smart City Blueprints and Smart City Blueprints 2.0. The government has upgraded the target from e-government to smart government. As it is, the government is still staying as the e-government stage. The government is only digitalizing paperwork, but this is only the very first step. We are talking about application of big data and artificial intelligence. We have to harness the power on the long-term developments. Through daily surveillance, the government should collect data and analyze them through cloud analysis and artificial intelligence for enhancements of the government's e-platform and enhancements of efficiency. It's a shame that the government is still remaining at the early stage of digitalization. In terms of artificial intelligence, the development is slow. There is still a very long way to go on this regard. I believe that under the leadership of Professor Sun Dong, in the very near future, there will be tangible results soon. I urge the government to make reference to the Shenzhen Futian government. By using artificial intelligence to coordinate traffic, to manage traffic, it has shortened journey time by 10%. Much effort has been spent on managing data. Now the smart city advanced warning system would collect public data through cameras and sensors. And then the platform would collate the data gathered by different government departments to avoid to improve the collaboration between departments. With the country's developments in digital economy, we should ride on the prime opportunities. We are the international financial center of the country, and we are also the window or with the gateway of the country. We have a lot of advantages. We are the largest offshore RMB trading center. We should strive to be a trial zone for ECNY. This will surely boost our move towards migration to digital economy, and we can also contribute to the internationalization of RMB. Thank you. I so submit I support the original motion. Mr. Biu Tang.
President, I thank Ms. Carmen KAN for moving this motion because it doesn't cover business, but also government services. Now, we are improving access to the government and also facilitating trade and business. I think we have to be concerned about the workers. Some said in response to Mr. Michael Look that labor disputes should be dealt with by themselves, like in the UK, they dealt with Uber. In Hong Kong, we have to protect the members of the public. We have to safeguard national security. Like Mr. Julius Ho said, a lot of the servers are outside Hong Kong. Why don't you have the registration system? If a platform has taken up a certain section of the community and they have the data on a lot of people, why don't you legislate to regulate them? According to the judgment over Uber in the UK, the tool for production is actually the app. It is the big data. It is not the vehicle. It is the Uber company that is owning everything. I think we have to have the registration system for the sake of the workers. We don't have to wait for a long time. Now, in terms of e-government, we ought to have the legislation. It would take us an awful long time to get the transcript. Why can't we have the voice system? We should have the voice system to let the public get the transcript or the judgment. It's been done in the mainland. They can recognize any dialects, Hakka, Chu Chow, any kind of dialects. 客大顺飞, I mean, it is really amazing. So I hope the e-government services should cover everything. There are some services that I find astounding. The government has rolled out a lot of relief measures. They used the mobile phone, the $10,000 unemployment relief fund, that all you need to do is to apply via the mobile phone. But there are certain services that cannot be done electronically. Like CSSA, you can't even print the form of the system. So by default, the poor will have to turn up in person at the SWT office to make it difficult for people. I mean, you can't even do it electronically if you apply for legal aid. It's not as if you can't do it. Also, the wages in arrear, you have to turn up at the Labor Department and sign on the dotted line for conciliation. You have to wait for 3 weeks. So e-government services can cover these areas to make sure that the disputes can be handled expeditiously. If the government, if the employer refuses to budge, they should go to the court. If you ring up the court, you have to wait for 6 weeks. And I mean, you will be going hungry for 2 months already. E-government services are all about better access to government services. And I hope that the SL government, having listened to members' views, in particular, Ms. Carmen KAN's views, will do something to address the needs of the public. E-government services should be promoted, and the consumption voucher scheme should be digitalized, because it is many birds with one stone. And there are disabled people, the elderly people, who may not be able to cope, and I think you ought to have the caring team that can become the IT ambassador for the sake of the senior folks. I hope the government will consider this. Thank you. Mr. Duncan Chiu. President, I must make the declaration that I am a member of the HA. I am chairman of the IT committee of the HA. I'm also a member of the Digital Economy Committee. President, in my recommendation, in the context of the policy address, this is one of the areas that we proposed. The government should have the right policy to support these 4 areas. And I've been asking the government to legislate for cyber or data security, and also there should be measures to plug the gap in the e-government and digital economy. So I support Ms. Khan's motion. The mainland has started dealing with this long years ago. In the 14th Five-Year Plan, they emphasized the development of digital economy. And data is an important element in the production. Without data, you cannot do any computing. So we have to, if we want to do better in the way of digital economy and e-government, we need to have data, but we need to have legislation for the data. Like healthcare services, can we have the integration between the data in the private and public sector? On the 26th of January, I moved an amendment regarding the 10-year primary healthcare. I urged the government to come up with the long-term plan to harness technology to resolve all manner of healthcare problems. The motion was supported by a lot of members and was endorsed. And I'm still awaiting this. At the HA, we have launched the telemedicine for the infected people and recovered people. Now, these kind of e-government services do provide a lot of help, and it shows how important the e-government services are. Now, why is it does it have anything to do with legislation? Now, the government had the EHRS many years ago, but policy-wise, they haven't considered how the private doctors can upload the data, and the entire EHR is not sufficiently sophisticated. It doesn't deliver the results as intended, and this is not something that the government and the public would like to see. So over the years, I've been pushing the government to legislate to regulate the private healthcare sector to make sure that they upload the data. I'm glad to hear from the policy address that this has been written into the policy address, and I think this is an important milestone in the development of e-health services. E-government services must have the backing of the legislation for it to be effective. There are other livelihood issues: transportation, welfare, education, finance. We also need to have the right legislation to back up the e-government services for them to be successful. On Monday, the Hong Kong MA has announced the CDI, commercial data interchange. The financial institutions can share the data on this platform. This is a very good beginning. I hope that there will be more commercial data that can be available and transferred on this common platform. It's only then that we can enhance the quality of the e-government services. I hope that the government will review the situation and see what challenges they face in areas where there is a need for legislation for data to be used. The administration might wish to communicate with LegCo. We're not simply legislating for e-government services, but we are legislating for better e-government services. With these words, I support Ms. Carmen KAN's motion. Ms. Nixie Lam. President, I rise to speak in support of Ms. Khan's motion. Innovation and technology is important. We do have the support of the mainland authorities, but for Hong Kong to be an innovation center, we have to have the ability to assist in the mainland development. I think we have to get integrated with the mainland system, and we ought to start with the mutual access of the data in order to enhance the governance quality. In the mainland, e-government has been developing rapidly. In 2018, the Guangdong government has started the procedures. There are 2,000 different services available for e-government services. Now we have a dozen or so apps in different departments, and this is a real duplication. Now, in Shenzhen in 2021, they have enacted the Shenzhen data legislation, and this is the first piece of comprehensive legislation. This is they're having a head start in Hong Kong. We have missed a lot of opportunities in the GBA. In this day and age, I think we have to supercharge or turbocharge our initiatives to identify the solution. And there is a lack of integration between the two places. We have to work doubly hard. Through the I Am Smart, we are trying to have the mutual access between the two places. I should heap praise on the government. We should start with some of the commonly used areas, and then we can resolve all the daily needs. If you turn back to Hong Kong, the financial sector is the mainstay of Hong Kong's economy. This is a driving engine. Many young people are quite interested in the virtual transaction, but for cryptocurrency, the government hasn't really gone far enough, and I'm worried that there might be negative impact on society. Some of the transaction platforms may not be able to survive, and they may lead to the brain drain of the fintech talents. Now, this will lead to outflow of capital, and this will not offer any protection to the investors. Now, it is important to strike a balance in regulating the crypto assets while we regulate the market, we ought to have the right policy to tie in with the market needs instead of stymieing the development of the market. When there is a lack of balance between regulation and development, I think we have to do something to put things right. We all understand that there are many challenges in the market. The mainland authorities have imposed an onerous burden on Hong Kong. I think we have to consider how best we can help the core business to develop and expand the market. Now let me turn now to e-government services. Back in 2020, the government has published the Smart City 2.0, but the pace of development is really like glacial. And some of the services are really puzzling, like the forms have to be downloaded. You have to print them off, fill them out, and then submit them. And I believe if you fill out the form online, you still have to print it off and submit it to the government. We have to do something about it. I do pin very high hope on the I Am Smart, and I do have faith in Mr. Sun Dong, and I hope that there will be a one-stop online service form of I Am Smart, that we should be able to develop good digital economy. Thank you.
Mr. Kwok Wai Keung. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Ms. Kan's original motion as well as the amendments moved by Mr. Kennedy Wong and Mr. Lok. Ms. Kan's original motion is about legislating on digital economy and e-government services. But I'd like to focus on Mr. Lok's amendment, that is, to offer proper protection for platform workers. Digital economy is a new way. It has gone past the point of no return. The epidemic has accelerated the growth of workload for delivery workers and online platform workers. During the epidemic, we have heard about numerous accidents encountered by online platform delivery workers. There is zero protection. It's been 3 years. The trade is still given a free rein. Workers who are in accidents, according to the government, should be classified as employees under the employment ordinance. But does it mean that you will have to be in an accident to become an employee? Without any regulation, there is a blurred line as to who is an employee. There is no proper protection for workers. Workers don't have labor protection. Well, the epidemic is alleviating. The business of online delivery work has dampened. Workers don't get proper protection because their employers sometimes will say that they are not employees. The problem has gone more serious. There should be regulatory conditions in the licensing approval. Previously, I myself and Mr. Chung-hung went to different districts to collect information about the actual work condition of delivery workers. They work longer hours than security guards. In the new economy, they are elementary workers. The government has the duty to give them proper protection. People ask, does it mean that they are all employees under the employment ordinance? What about freelance workers? Hong Kong is known for its long work hours. Because of the epidemic, people do work from home or they take freelance work because people don't want to get tied down by a job. They want autonomy. So we're talking about professionals, say lawyers or accountants working freelance. A number of years ago, we asked the government to review the condition of 4.1.18. But the government just want to side with the business sector. They've turned a deaf ear to the labor sector. They want to stick to the old ways. There is no improvement. In France, if for someone who contributes over 5,100 euro to the company, then the company will have to take out basic insurance for the employee. We all support development of digital economy, but we need to combat fake, misinformation. This consultancy study is supposed to be completed. Please expedite its work. Yesterday in the question session, the Security Secretary said that they have spoken to the communications authorities, saying that, apps will be used to identify callers in fraudulent calls. We support that. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. I thank Ms. Kan for moving the important motion, and I support it. Back in 2004, that there was a committee on digital planning, and in 2017 there was the smart blueprint, and then in 2020 there is the version 2.0. We had an early start, but the pace is very slow. It's like the turtle and hare race. We need to pick up our pace. This motion is about legislation. We need legislation because, most importantly, it will be conducive for the solid development of digital economy and e-government services. Of course, the development of e-government should be people-based, and there should be full connectivity. If the public is to feel the benefits, we should draw reference from our motherland. In the past decade, if we look at development of digital economy and e-government service, you realize that they've done very well. Well, the development of and sharing of data has achieved success. Let me give you some information. Members of the public only have to go to a government office only once. They have a single portal for online government services to do everything. If that can be realized, then the public would feel that there is a change in governance. One of the key principles of national development is for the government to take the lead in the development of electronic services. The sense of happiness and gain and security of the people should be enhanced. And there should be a strong support given for development of e-service. If we are to have good development on digital economy and e-government service, then we need to give people a sense of happiness, gain, and security. National security and a favorable business environment and the sense of benefit are all very important. We have the data security law and the personal information protection law. Regarding the latter, in the past few years, I have been saying that our personal data protection law is rather outdated. The government said that it will be updated. They've been talking about this for many years. So legislation will resolve problems encountered by the development of digital economy and e-government service. But if we are to develop shops that are automated, so we need legislation. In the UK, they have announced an act on data reform. It was announced in May. The problems the bill aims to solve is the conflict between artificial intelligence and data protection, so that when AI is used, it will be done on a sound legal basis. There are some areas that we need to work on. Say for example, open data. Make useful data available. We always talk about lack of connectivity of data amongst different governments. In 2012, there was the open data law in the US. They have defined public data for the government to use. We can draw reference from that. There is another key factor. We need to speed up. But that's all I can say with the limited time. Well, I look forward to exchanges with the government. We hope to be able to embark upon the legislation as soon as possible. I so submit. Mr. Kenneth Fogg. I thank Ms. Kan for moving this motion. In the 20th National Congress report, President Xi talks about various drives and impetus. In this new era, development of digital economy is very important. Well, Hong Kong is an important bridgehead for our country, so we need to pick up our pace on legislating on digital economy and e-government service. For a digital economy, you talk about big data and commercial data. Well, there is also a digital culture, digital sports. These are key development areas in our culture and sports. Well, we need to tell the world that we need to sell to the world our soft power. What I meant was that make use of big data, AI, and cloud computing to digitize culture. And it's not just the use of technology in its mode of display. This will form the basis for decision so that people would enjoy a better cultural life. I would like to give you two specific examples for illustration. First, museum. Well, museum is a good way to export our culture. Digital museum is a good way to break barriers. Well, in other places, in the Imperial Palace of Beijing, there is a digital museum. You can visit the palace online. Well, this has created a fad and a trend. Museums under the LCSD have made better use of technology. In 2018, there was an exhibition that's also done online in relation to Chung-hung. But aside from individual exhibitions, we see that the pace of digitalization is rather slow. Virtual tours is still done by way of video clips on YouTube. There's room for improvement. The chief executive talked about a 10-year development blueprint for culture. Apart from hardware, we need to also develop software. Can we have more interaction? Can we create synergy? The other area is library, where we see digitalization in libraries. For the UNESCO, they have cooperated with 32 countries, covering information of 193 countries. We have a digitalized library, but it's not comprehensive. Youngsters would like to read online, so we need to pick up our pace to increase the digital collection of libraries. That is the trend and that is the future. I hope the government will feel the pulse of the latest trend and habit of the general public. We can make use of data to predict what you would like and have those books sent to you. That's a better way to deliver service. There is still a lot of ways where we can make improvement. Today we talk about legislation. If we are to realize digitalization, we need the law. In South Korea, they are very successful. Back in 1995, they have put down the legal framework for digitalization. In recent days, they have also put in place digital asset law. So we do need to catch up. So for digital culture and digital sports, we need legislation to promote its development. The government should pay attention to that so that Hong Kong can become a center for culture. I support the amendments and the original motion.
Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Mr. President. I speak in support of the motion. Well, I didn't want to speak at first, but I heard members' comments on the development of digital economy in e-government services in Hong Kong, and I'd like to share my experience. When it comes to I&T development, many people would comment that we don't have it in our soul. We take a fragmented approach in our development. We just slap a band-aid and provide stopgap solutions. We are setting the goal too low. For example, when we submit an application to the AFCD for the use of antibiotics that is not registered in Hong Kong, we need to get application forms and visit different offices in Cheung Sha Wan and in other districts. And later on, the government provides an email address to which we can send the form, and then we have the e-form. We're saving time for farmers, and eventually we can get an e-form and we can submit the e-form via email. That saves a lot of time. The government should set indicators for the digitization of government services. Now, Professor Sun is in charge of his bureau, but apart from this bureau, we have a lack of coordination among government bureaus and departments. I was a member of the Public Accounts Committee in the last term. When it comes to inspection of food coming in across the boundary, we learned that there are 17 different interfaces for the computer system, and you need to go through each and every system before you complete the whole procedure. As for vehicle license, it's the data is put in manually. It's handwritten. It's written in pencil. So it's very difficult to have cross-border digital services. Let me just turn to our own government. Are we setting too low a goal for digitizing government services in Hong Kong? Perhaps you have made certain efforts. I just don't feel it. I think in Hong Kong, the most advanced technology we have is the octopus. Yes, we have a smart Hong Kong ID card, but it's only for borrowing books from libraries. I only learned recently that because of the COVID-19 epidemic, we can use the smart ID card to join e-health, and that's it. And I think that this argument is quite skewed when it comes to the personal data privacy as an excuse. Now, not long after I've joined this council, we had the Lama vessel collision incident, and I discovered that the telephone number of Marine Department, as printed in the forms, only consisted of 6 digits. And then when a fisherman reaches the age of 65 and that the license is to be revoked, they can't find anyone to renew the licenses or permits, because they never thought of renewing their permits when they were young. They couldn't find anyone to help them. So if you don't take a people-oriented approach in digitizing government services, it won't do. It's just like they are totally neglecting what happens down the chain. It's all right to provide government with funding. It's all about how you make use of the funding available to take forward I&T development. I don't want more digital tools to be developed only to be used as something like an octopus cart. We only started to use WeChat Pay recently. I've only 1 minute left. My point is, the government should coordinate among government departments and impose the same requirement. There should only be one portal. We're not achieving this target. As for Northern Metropolis, the government should start by a coordinated planning. Professor Sun, the secretary, should first discuss with the Development Bureau, or else we will be just saying put. Does any other member wish to speak?
Ms. Carmen KAN, you may now speak on the amendments. President, thank you. President, I am grateful to 35 members who have spoken other than the 2 amenders. Mr. Kennedy Wong from the import and export sector, he said we have to enhance Hong Kong's role as an international trade center. He cited the cross-border e-commerce development as an example to support his argument. Cross-boundary e-commerce is also the way to go, and this is something Hong Kong needs. However, President, when we develop digital economy, it covers all aspects. In the course of development, we have to consider the 8 centers, including the finance center. The digital economy and the 8 centers go hand in hand. We can help Hong Kong to be integrated into the national development. I'm approaching this matter of digital economy from a macro point of view. Mr. Michael Look made the amendment. Many people are worried about the labor force being replaced by automation. Indeed, there was some impact, but Hong Kong managed to transition orderly. In the digital era, digital economy certainly will promote the gig economy, and I think Hong Kong should really go ahead and legislate, and we have to tie in with the trend of the digital economy. Mr. Look's amendment consists of more wordings to protect the labor rights. It shows how concerned he is with the labor sector. I think we have to strike a balance there. As to the platform workers and the protection of their rights and interests, I don't think we should link this with legislation for digital economy and e-government. And the amendment doesn't really gel with the original motion. I'm worried that with this amendment being passed, we will be stalling the entire work. I am inspired by other members' speech. I look forward to the administration's reply. USCED. President, I thank Ms. Carmen KAN for moving today's motion. And I'm also grateful to the 38 members who spoke. When it comes to digital economy, members tend to use all the alphabet of letters. And Ms. Khan talks about A, B, C, D, AI, blockchain, cloud, and data. Mr. Kennedy Wong talked about e-commerce. In the debate, I also noticed that a number of members referred to F and G, 5 for 5G, FG for 5G, and now I'm going to outline the CEDB's work in relation to 5G. As SITI pointed out at the beginning, 5G is an important infrastructure for driving the digital economy, e-commerce, AI, online platforms, and various technology applications, and it brings huge potential for new business services and smart city applications. As we enter the 5G era, 5G services will create new possibilities for innovative applications and IoT, facilitating the extensive range of applications such as remote healthcare system, outdoor 4K, 8K live streaming, aerial camera applications. And 5G is also the cornerstone for high-end industries driving economic and industrial development. Since the launch of commercial 5G services in 2020, 5G network coverage has reached well over 90% of the population, covering 98 MTR stations. Some operators managed to achieve 99% coverage in core business districts. By the middle of this year, the number of 5G users was close to 4 million, accounting for more than half of the population. The CE's policy address emphasized the need to build a smart Hong Kong to enhance people's quality of life. Advanced mobile infrastructure is a crucial element in promoting the development of a smart city. To further expand the 5G network, a huge number of base stations need to be installed, but telecommunications operators have encountered difficulties in this regard. It would take a long time to identify the right locations, thus hampering the further expansion of 5G. In view of this year's policy address announced that the government will amend the Telecommunications Ordinance, Cap 106, and the related guidelines to ensure that suitable space will be reserved in new buildings for the installation of relevant facilities, and to consolidate Hong Kong's position as a regional communications hub and to tie in with the smart city initiatives. In addition, the CEDB has been and will continue to implement a whole raft of measures to facilitate the rollout of 5G networks. Number one, to provide suitable spectrum in a timely manner so that operators can acquire the spectrum for 5G development through the market mechanism. Second, the OFCA has approved over 8,900 new 5G base stations since 2019, and operators have been upgrading the base stations' 5G coverage. The network rollout is achieving good progress. In addition, the government has opened up 1,500 government venues for operators to build base station by way of a streamlined application process and a nominal annual rental of $1. These venues include stadiums, markets, museums, and municipal complexes. Third, a $100 million funding scheme has been earmarked under the AEF to encourage the early adoption of 5G. More than 150 projects have been funded, benefiting healthcare, transport, environmental protection, and property management, and they will be able to harness the potential of 5G. Fourth, we've devoted $770 million as an incentive to encourage telecommunications operators to expand their optic fiber networks to remote villages. Thus far, more than 80 villages have benefited from this. This will continue with the target of covering a total of 235 villages by 2026. Fifth, we have just amended the Telecommunications Ordinance, Cap 106, in June this year to upgrade the telecommunications regulatory framework to tie in with the latest developments. It covers streamlining non-carrier licenses and a more flexible and liberal licensing regime to facilitate the adoption of 5G and Internet of Things by different enterprises. The CEDB will continue to take 5G forward we will closely monitor market situation and formulate appropriate policies to support the continued development of 5G and smart cities and lay a solid foundation for the 5G application and digital economy. Other than 5G work, I noticed that some members referred to the undesirable trade practices involving the online purchases. I'd like to make a response regarding the protection of consumers' interests. Online purchase has become an indispensable part of life. The consumers are concerned how their legitimate interests can be safeguarded. In relation to the undesirable trade practices, the Customs and Excise would gather evidence to monitor the online activities and take follow-up action and prosecution as appropriate. Other than trade description ordinance, we have the service provision ordinances and also unconscionable trade ordinance. We do have a whole series of ordinances to protect the safety of the consumers. The consumers can, depending on the circumstances, like the contract conditions, file a complaint. The Consumer Council has been assisting the consumers to safeguard their interests, and they would also conciliate and resolve the disputes. In order to foster better cooperation, the Consumer Council has liaised with Macau and 9 municipalities in the GBA. They have entered into a memorandum of understanding and set up a notification system regarding complaints. Undersecretary, you've got between you 21 minutes. You spend more than 1/3 of the time. I'm not sure whether you should reserve some time for other secretaries. Well, all in all, the government will closely monitor the development in this area. Where necessary, we will review the relevant legislation, and we will take enforcement action and compliance action. We adopt this multi-pronged approach to make sure that consumers' interests will be safeguarded. Thank you.
Undersecretary for Financial Services and the Treasury. President, I thank Ms. Kan for moving the original motion, and also Dr. Kennedy Wong and Mr. Chung-hung for moving the amendment so that we have a chance to listen to views. The government has been adopting a multi-pronged approach to support the development of fintech and to dovetail the development of digital economy. We endeavor to promote financial technology and digitalization of trade and finance using fintech. This week saw the launch of commercial data interchange. It is one of the key initiatives to enhance Hong Kong's data infrastructure and form an ecosystem for secure and seamless data exchange. This facilitates financial institutes in retrieving enterprises' commercial data, in particular the data of SMEs. This will streamline a wide range of financial processes such as know your customer, credit assessment, loan approval, and risk management. There is also the e-Trade Connect developed by the banking sector. It is a blockchain-based trade financing platform which promotes digitalization of trade documents and automation of finance processes to reduce risk. e-Trade Connect and commercial data interchange will create synergy for enterprises to obtain financing speedily. The first 2 phases of connection of e-Trade Connect with PBOC's trade finance platform have been completed. This provides importers and exporters of both places with more convenient trade finance. We have also completed the preliminary test in relation to electronic currency. We will make use of e-payments such as a fast payment system. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority is also looking into the development of e-Hong Kong dollars. Well, last month they have announced a study and they have started planning to pave the way for e-Hong Kong dollars. We have been reviewing our regulatory regime to make sure that the development of a digital economy, all the parties are properly protected. Service providers, including virtual banks, virtual insurers, and e-wallets, are covered by legislation applicable to financial institutions. They have to apply for relevant licenses from regulators and abide by the relevant requirements. The government will strike a balance between regulatory measures and market needs and update as necessary the rules taking into account market changes. We aim to promote sustainable development of fintech service whilst ensuring the soundness of the financial system and without stifling market development. And in order to protect investors, in July this year, the government introduced to Legislating the Anti-Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Amendment Bill 2022. The bill seeks to set up a licensing regime for virtual asset providers to ensure appropriate regulation on these services and service providers. The regime provides a clear regulatory environment for the industry. Regulators will formulate guidelines to promote healthy and orderly development of the market. In January this year, the Hong Kong MA released a paper on regulation of stable coins. They are studying the comments collected. They will ensure that our regime is in line with international regulatory recommendation and is suitable for Hong Kong. On the electronic payment system, since the enactment of the Payment Systems and Store Value Facilities Ordinance, payment systems such as e-wallets are covered by regulatory regime which is clearer and more specific, this in turn promotes the development of payment systems that provide fast, convenient, and reliable financial services such as cross-boundary remittance. Last year, the Legislating passed the Mandatory Provident Fund Amendment Bill 2021. This provides the legal basis for the operation of eMPF. The MPF Authority is developing the eMPF at full steam. The platform provides a one-stop online MPF management service for employers, employees, and self-employed people. It will enhance the operation efficiency of administration, user experience, and lower operation cost. Whilst we promote digitalization of financial services, we need to guard against threats on the internet. To this end, regulators have been working with industry to remind the public to stay vigilant and to be aware of fraud using financial network. The initiatives include reminding the public about a common modus operandi of the crimes, measures to guard against threat, and to require institutions under the regime to review their risk control measures and to enhance resilience against internet attack. And our cooperation will be put in place with the police to monitor possible crime. I submit.
主席，感谢35位议员就简慧敏议员的议案，以及黄英豪议员和陆颂雄议员的修正案提出的宝贵意见和建议。刚才，商务及经济发展局副局长和财经事务及库务局副局长也已分别就他们的政策范畴作出回应。接下来，我想再做补充回应。黄英豪议员的修正案提到，香港要提升国际贸易中心的角色，必须顺应新时代的转变，这一点我们十分认同。要推动经济的高质量发展，数字化是必然的趋势。为此，由财政司司长领导的数字化经济发展委员会委任了来自工商、金融、物流、电商、资讯及通讯科技和学术等界别的专家学者和业界人士， 与政府各相关部门集思广益，共同研究推动相。
from finance, logistics, e-commerce, information, and communication, so that we will also listen to members to promote better development and application of data infrastructure, big data, AI, to promote the flow of mobile data and data transformation. To respond to Mr. Wong's amendment as well as comments by other members, well, our Bureau is coordinating with government bureaus and departments on the single portal for government services. We're working with the Guangdong province to explore the connection, mutual recognition, linkage, and interface standardization with the mainland authorities. We will make use of IM Smart as one of the avenues under the Unified Identity Authentication Platform of the Guangdong province, so that Hong Kong residents can make use of IM Smart in identity authentication. Mr. Lok also talked about rights of platform workers. A number of members have expressed concern on this issue as well. Well, this may be under the purview of the Labor and Welfare Bureau, but I would like to give a response on behalf of the Secretary for Labor and Welfare. The government is very concerned about protection for platform workers. Well, digital platform is an emerging industry. The cooperation mode and the contract terms have been evolving. So we need to first understand the cooperation relationship, the contract terms and service provision models before we can differentiate the identity of platform workers and whether they enjoy protection under labor laws. The Labor Department is conducting a study in this complicated issue. They will listen to views in order to formulate the policy to protect platform workers. Members have given us their valuable views. In relation to e-government and connectivity, Mr. Ma Fung Kwok talked about enhancing data sharing. We are working on sharing of data sets. We hope that by the end of 2023, we will be able to provide the service. That is, government will get the authorization to make use of departmental systems to share personal information to reduce duplication. A number of members, Ms. Eunice Young, Ronick Chen, Jeffrey Lam, have talked about privacy protection, management of sensitive data. We will work with the Security Bureau and the CMAB to talk about issues in relation to the ordinance. Hong Kong has a sound system and a prime geographical location, so we can take a leading position in relation to data exchange and connection. We will work with mainland authorities to look into connectivity of data. We will launch in 2023 plans to share data in the GBA to help develop GBA into a smart city. A number of other members have talked about open spatial data. Well, the portal will be open at the end of this year for public use. We will open over 500 spatial data sets covering different areas. Members have also talked about private sector services. We will first work on e-government service. We will lead the development of e-service in the private sector. In relation to our development, and we need to make sure that our laws keep abreast with the times and to meet actual needs. Mr. Martin Liao pointed out that legislating of digital economy lags behind. We need to pick up the pace to ensure legislation on internet security. We will listen to views. We will expedite relevant legislative exercises. I would like to emphasize again that the government is working at full steam the promotion of digital economy and e-government service. We share the same goal with members. The promotion of digital economy and e-government service is to change the ecosystem. We have started early in the relevant work, but our pace is slow. So we have heard your view that we need to expedite our work. Bureau and departments will work together to expedite the implementation of relevant policies. I would like to thank Ms. Kan for moving the original motion. Members have spoken on the issue. They have given us their suggestions. Our Bureau will collate all the views and forward them to relevant bureaus and departments for consideration. I so speak.
And I call upon Dr. Kennedy Wong to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose the question to you that Dr. Kennedy Wong's amendment be passed. With those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against? I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Mr. Michael Look, as Dr. Kennedy Wong's amendment has been passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I propose the question to you that Mr. Michael Look's further amendment be passed. Mr. Frankie Yik claims division. The bell will ring for Just a reminder that if you want to claim a division, all you need to do is to press the button for rules of procedure for Please proceed to vote. Mr. Louis Long, are you voting? Have you pressed the present button? Please check your votes. If there are no questions, voting now closed. I display the results. EC 27 present, 2 for, 2 against, 23 abstentions. FCGC 44 present, 11 for, 3 against, 29 abstentions. The question is not agreed by majority of each of the 2 groups of members present. I declare the amendments negatived. Ms. Carmen KAN, you've got 1 minute, 15 seconds to make a response. Once again, President, I thank members for the support. This is a good inspiration for me. I hope that this will also inspire the government to respond with action. And the government said that they keep their options open in terms of legislation. And from the policy address, the government is determined to set KPIs. We expect the government would come up with the strategies and outline regarding legislation for digital economy and e-government. We should have the empowering legislation for people to feel the fruit of these efforts. If we can do this, certainly we will be able to have one single government to work for the well-being of the public. And I put a question to you that Ms. Carmen KAN's motion as amended by Ms. Kennedy Wong be passed. But those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the 2 groups of members present. I declare the motion as amended passed. The meeting is now adjourned. The next meeting is scheduled for the 2nd of November, Wednesday, 11 a.m.